A young man participating in a regatta got lost in the middle of the ocean. In its boundless immensity, he no longer knew where to turn. He didn't lose hope, picked up his oars and bravely began to row his boat. After a few hours of uncertain wandering and beaten by the fierce sunshine and his thirst for water, his strength abandoned him. The young man lost his enthusiasm, lay down at the bottom of his boat. Large, deep-sea-going ships and gigantic container ships roam the ocean at great speeds and crisscross the same area. Water! The young man began to cry out, his voice too feeble to be heard. A cruise ship carrying a congress of famous doctors and scientists passed by. Full of authentic empathy and humanity, they each explained to the young man the virtues and miracles of H2O, told him his body needed at least 2 liters of water per day. From aboard a military ship, a fervent chaplain preached a sermon to the young sailor, said his desire was legitimate and that the water he so earnestly wanted ought to make him think of something more elevated, of greater importance. From a yacht, a cheerful dandy brandished a bottle of liquor, laughed that it was much better than water. After all, they already had plenty of water. Everyone sailed past and onward on their ships, their high-speed motorboats and yachts. The young man remained on the ocean, floating helplessly, begging with an increasingly faint voice. Water.
Mi queridísima familia salesiana, como todos los años, tengo esta oportunidad.
My dear Salesian family members, like every year, I have the opportunity to address you all on the Strenna. This year, a theme suggested to me by Pope Francis, who, for the Synod of Bishops, wanted the title Youth, Faith and Vocational Discernment. In the many trips of this year, I met thousands and thousands of young people from all over the world and from different cultures. In them, I was able to feel their desire to live, to grow, to be ready to give the best they have. And at the same time, I saw young people who felt insecure, who really needed us. They need adults who are able to walk with them. Of adults who naturally know how to take on their responsibilities, feel responsible for that path, and importantly, from that moment, feel they must be absolutely credible and be able to give testimony that is authentic. This is what this particular Strenna is about.
En la vida de todos nosotros y de toda persona,
in the life of us all, in each person, there are encounters that deeply touch our existence, our being. The same thing happened to the Samaritan woman, who finds herself by chance with Jesus, with the Lord. That encounter transforms her life. In fact, the Samaritan could be an authentic icon, a model of how we can meet and walk together in the path of life. Each meeting begins with understanding and listening. Jesus is a person who seeks the good of the other person, of his interlocutor. He creates a personal relationship and does not give a moral judgment of disapproval or reproach to the woman of Samaria. Instead of accusing, he speaks with her and makes proposals, and his language, his words, go straight to the heart of the person he speaks to. In a dialogue, especially in this case with the woman of Samaria, Jesus proceeds calmly, without haste. awakening in her little by little that interest in gaining access to a source of water for a special, different, better life.
Mejor. Ese interés.
This interest in dialogue with Jesus is growing until she says, "Lord, give me this water."
Y es ahí donde el Señor,
thus the Lord, an expert in humanity, accompanies people's journey, knows their interiority, understands their rhythms, their processes. The same thing happens with the young people in our time. As Pope Francis says, the Lord awakens a wonderful charm in many young people. And this has a lot to do with two elements, with faith and with the call that God makes to each of them, each boy or girl. A call that is an invitation to live the joy of the vocation in love.
En el amor. Pero sabemos que esto no siempre es así.
But we know that this is not always the case, and our young people do not always have the opportunity and the chance to be accompanied in this way. This reality challenges us and tells us what we can do as educators and evangelizers. There are many proposals that have emerged. I list only a few. We must continue to walk with young people, with families, with those who need to be accompanied, because the moment is favorable, because there are many young people who want to do something beautiful with their lives.
Quieren crecer, quieren soñar.
They want to grow, they want to dream, they want to give the best of what they have. We must be able to accompany them, to let God Himself work in them, to make them grow deep in their hearts, knowing that we are next to them, that we must not interfere, but we are ready to offer a testimony, as I have already said, that it is truly credible, an authentic testimony of faith and of great human, ethical and moral quality.
Y moral. Como educadores, educadoras, familia salesiana en todo el mundo,
as educators, my dear Salesian family present throughout the world, we cannot, as we've seen, allow the story to end. We must give other kinds of answers. It is something that comes naturally to us, born of the essence of the Salesian charism we have received from Don Bosco.
Don Bosco
had some exceptional traveling companions. The great companion of his human and spiritual journey was his beloved mother, Mamma Margherita. We also know, and he himself tells us, of the significance of Father Calosso and his friend Luigi Comollo, and also Father Cafasso, who accompanied him and prepared him for pastoral life. It was all this that allowed Don Bosco to have great wealth to share with his children.
Y es por eso,
and this is why Don Bosco is a pastor and educator who is responsible for creating an educational environment that is attractive, full of educational proposals, beautiful human relationships. Don Bosco is a great spiritual companion for us. Don Bosco always tries to ensure that the climate of mutual knowledge, trust, Friendship and spiritual paternity is found here, with his children, a consequence and the mature fruit of educational paternity.
Tenemos que ser capaces
We must be able to accompany and give answers to those who have all this thirst and ask us for that water in such a way that we are able, with the Samaritan woman, to bring them closer to the encounter with Jesus.
al encuentro con Jesús.
His suffering seemed without hope of respite, a slow and inexorable decline. But then an old heap of a boat approach swung to the side. There were other young people on the old boat. They listened to him, quenched his thirst, healed his burns, and finally sailed to and entered a safe harbour.
Y termino el aguinaldo de este año.
And I end this year's Strenna by asking myself what the Samaritan woman would say if she took us by the hand and accompanied us to the encounter with Jesus, after the experience she had.
Nos invitaría a estar siempre abiertos al don que nos viene de Dios.
She would invite us to be always open to the gift that comes from God. She would say to us, "You must accompany each other." And just as one is able to learn from Jesus, to be more human, she would undoubtedly invite us to continue to grow in this experience of humanity.
Mi querida familia salesiana,
My dear Salesian family, my brothers and sisters, friends all, this simple presentation of this year's Strenna ends here. That all this may lead us to say, from the depths of ourselves, even today, Lord, give me this water. See you soon.